Right guys, welcome down to Finch Friday, your weekly golf Q&A, and as always, so many questions have been sent in, thank you so much. Need to go through, pick 5 of them of which to answer, and then just go into as much detail as possible without boring people to death. So the first question is on buying new clubs and second-hand clubs and what type of tactics you should be using if you're looking to keep the cost of a new set down. A question about how different coaches approach the golf swing and what you should be looking for in a coach. My thoughts on the new TaylorMade M1 and M2 range and the initial positives and fallout from those clubs. What I think about Bryson DeChambeau's new putting technique, the side saddle. And about the new rule changes brought in by the R&A and the USPGA about the ball accidentally moving on the green if you address it. So there's a couple of questions around this point, but I'm going to read out Finn.Harwood on Instagram. As I'm only 13, I don't have much money to spend on my next set of clubs. What website/shop would you recommend I go to? Love your content, thanks. #Finch Friday, #Quest for the Open. Thank you very much, Finn. Now, there are actually quite a few questions about this on this Q&A as well. I'm thinking maybe because it's coming up to Christmas, people are thinking of updating their sets for the new year, whatever it may be, but there seems to be a lot of people wanting to know about this subject. What I would say is with golf clubs, especially within the last 5 to 6 years, the quality of club year on year has remained very high if you look at the big manufacturers and also some smaller manufacturers as well. So the pin clubs, for example, from the G20 up to the new G range now, the quality of those clubs is very good. One of my favourite drivers, which is out there still at this moment in time, is the G20 driver. It is a fantastic club. It looks good, it performs very well, and is forgiving all at the same time. It's an all-round brilliant model. Just a very quick look on eBay, you can pick up one of those drivers from between about 40 to about 100 quid, depending on if they're new or not, or if they've been used in different types of shaft combinations. Now that, as a driver, is fantastic. It really is. The only downside to this, and this is something which I'll touch on in a moment, is you won't be able to get fitted for that exact club. So whenever you go and buy secondhand, no matter how good the deal is, it's very hard to know whether those clubs are going to be appropriate for your game. Sometimes I think it may be worthwhile paying for a very good fitting, so say a Tour X, which is nearby, that's a very good custom fitting service which is charged for. Take those results and maybe not buy those clubs new, take those results and then hunt around for a second-hand set, which is much cheaper. You have websites like eBay, like Golf Bidder, who we did some videos with last year, and hopefully we'll do some videos again going into next year about second-hand clubs and just how useful it can be to shop around, spend a little bit less money, and still gain very good results. So this question from J Turn Z, a lot of teachers/coaches have special methodologies they like to teach students. For example, 1 plane, 2 plane, stack and tilt, bioswing dynamics, etc. Is there a go-to swing method or idea you try and instill in your students? As far as I'm concerned, no, absolutely not. And in many respects, a lot of people who coach certain techniques, whether it be, stack or tilt, 1 plane, whatever it may be, what you tend to find is that the very best of those coaches don't probably teach that entire technique anyway. They borrow feelings and ideas from that method and then apply it to their students appropriately. I am not someone who coaches a set method because I don't believe that's the best way to get performance. When you have a look at players, and if we take tour players for example, a quick look at the top 20 players in the world will show you that they all swing the club distinctly from one another. Now, if you were to take all those players, those 20 players say, and then teach them one particular method, would you see their performance improved? I don't believe so, because they are being coached and they are playing with a technique which they have proven to themselves works. Now, when I'm giving lessons to my students, I can borrow certain things from certain methodologies that may work for them, but the real skill in coaching students is to understand what they need, what they want, what the problem is, identifying the issue, and then working on something appropriate to fix that issue. What I don't do with my lessons, and this is something that you see again with hopefully the coaches that you go to, they won't try and fit you into a particular method and they won't try and get you copying, say, Adam Scott's swing. They may use professional swings as an example, and I do within my lessons about certain positions within the swing that may be more preferable than others. But what they should do with you, and what I try to do with my lessons, is to make them understand that by changing something within their swing will result in a noticeable difference in the ball flight. And then once we've practiced that, once we've done that, we can use the launch monitors again, we can use the video again to show them what the changes have been within a swing, and then to show them the differences within the results, because that is key. So if you are going to have a lesson and you are going to a coach, try and make sure that they teach you, they coach you as an individual. Also try and make sure that when they're coaching you, they're using the technology. So we have video at the Quest Academy, we have video, force plates, launch monitors, loads of different things which can get us an in-depth analysis of what is going on with a player. And by all means, I use Tour Pro swings as examples of certain positions which enable them to play better and which may enable my students to play better. But I also use the launch monitor data to back up what I'm saying, the video to back up what I'm saying, the force plate to back up what I'm saying, and then can use all these technologies to actually see if there is an improvement in performance. So I hope that gives a little bit of an outline of how I approach my coaching, and hopefully gives a little bit more of an outline of what maybe you should see within your teacher as well. So lots of questions on this particular subject, so I will just use it as a whole. What I think about the new M1 and M2 irons and woods, and about the fallout which seems to have taken place around this launch. I think if I go by other people's opinions first on this one, so if you have a look at Rick Shields' new review on the M1 from last year and the M1 from next year, you'll see that the performance between these two clubs is actually very similar. And that is something which has been echoed by a number of different people. But what I found, and this is very interesting, and this is why I recommend that you watch the video which I did on when I got fitted for the new product, and that will be coming out. I think I might try and release that on Sunday or Monday, I'm not sure, but stay tuned to that video, because what it shows is, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, is that when I was using my current driver, which was the M2 from last year, against the M2 and the M1 from this year, there wasn't, again, any noticeable difference. But then I started to get custom fit into the new clubs. And that's where there was actually quite a dramatic difference. So stay tuned for that. As far as the range as a whole, I think there's different feelings from my side. I think certainly with the irons, I actually like the new M2 iron. I wasn't a fan of the M2 iron last year. It just felt clunky and a little bit heavy. I didn't like the look or the feel of it. The new M2 iron looks and feels and performs really, really well, so it's well worth a look. My only slight criticism would be is the lofts are very, very low. So compared to irons of 3-4 years ago, the iron lofts on the M2 are super, super low. And the way that they've constructed the weighting of the club means the ball launches high with very little spin. What TaylorMade says, because they launch so high, they don't need as much backspin to actually stop down on the green. It's not a club which I would particularly go for, the M2 iron, but a lot of people are preferring the M2 iron because of the distance gains and because of the high ball flight. As always, get yourself fit, because they could be the best iron for you, or you might not like them. It's not up to me, but what I would say is that the M2 iron is a standout performer, especially when compared to the M1 iron, which I don't know, it looked better visually to my eye than the M2, smaller profile, not as much offset, slightly thinner top line, but actually performance-wise, the M2 was better. The fairway woods, the hybrids on the M2 and the M1 from next year, they're very, very good. I didn't have the previous M1 and the M2 to test against, so it wouldn't be fair to give an opinion, but they perform very, very well. And then the drivers are really, really good. And as you'll see from the review, it's all about the fitting process. The difficult thing, I think, for TaylorMade is to improve on the M2 and the M1, because I think most people will agree that the M2 and the M1 from last year were fantastic drivers, and they were certainly my standout performer in the driver category. Not only last year, but probably from the year before as well. They were just really good clubs. And as always, please comment below. Love to know what you think about this and if you're excited about trying those new clubs as well. It is getting to that season where a lot of manufacturers are going to be bringing out new kit. So if you are excited about tech, it is open season for you guys. So this question from Jack Eaton, what do you think about Bryson DeChambeau's putting technique, and a little bit of a comment about how he is very much an individual player. It's interesting, isn't it? From a coaching standpoint, there's absolutely no reason why that type of putting technique. It's a very sound way to approach putting. If you think about it, you're looking directly down the line, well, pretty much just slightly to the side. You're holding the putter in a manner which allows much more of a straight back, straight through, pure pendulum stroke. There's no reason why it won't work. And what Bryson DeChambeau has done here is similar to with the one length irons, which I'm currently using, the Cobra one length irons by the way, and I'm enjoying using, has brought attention to different types of technique. Every now and again you get someone like DeChambeau who breaks the mold and who goes his own way, who says, you know what, I think I can find a different route to what the conventional way is, and I can introduce these new things to the public and say, this is how I play, I think this is the way forwards. What do you guys think? As always, the proof of this is not only in what DeChambeau does with it, but also if other people adopt the same method and how they do with it. So this question on Facebook from Chris Davis, what do you think about the new rule that starts on January the 1st? If you accidentally touch the ball on the green, then you're allowed to move it back and it doesn't count as a shot, or something like that. Love the videos. Thank you very much, Chris. So this whole issue about addressing a ball and it accidentally moving on the green when you've done really nothing wrong, causing you a penalty stroke. And it is something which we saw with Dustin Johnson in the US Open this year, which was a bungled affair on hole by the USPGA, but we don't need to get into that. So because of that event, and I think that's the only reason why, because it brought that stupid rule into the public domain, have they been forced to act. And it is the right decision. If you think about what happened to Dustin Johnson, he was taking practice strokes next to his ball and his ball moved like the smallest amount, such a tiny amount. And because of that, he was penalised a shot. But the way that it was handled was the main controversy there. But the rule itself, I think it should have been got rid of long ago. Right guys, thank you so much for watching this Finch Friday. Hopefully you found it enjoyable, informative, or at least something to play in the background while you're making a coffee, whatever it may be. But I appreciate spending time with you nonetheless. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please follow me on my other social media platforms as well, which are linked in the description below. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video. I think that was okay as an ending.